you guys ever heard of this little tiny company? It's been around for a long time. Started by a gentleman named Henry, last name Ford. Have you heard of Ford Motor Company? Probably seen his products out on the street or like literally everywhere, every day, all the time. Obviously great invention, right? World renowned, world changing invention. But he said something, Henry Ford did, that, and I'm not a huge fan of quotes. I'm not a huge fan of cheesy sayings. And those of you that know me and have talked to me for 10 seconds, you're like, yeah, right, dude, you're always saying cheesy stuff and you're always quoting people. So you're kind of right. You kind of got me there. But yeah, and I have one hanging over my shoulder there as well. And that one, Maya Angelou, for those of you that can't read it, and I don't know if it says it backwards in your screen or not, but it says, nothing works unless you do. You guys hear me use that one all the time. Henry Ford, though, back to him. He said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Simple, right? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that one, I kind of like, I let that slide when I first heard it. I was like, that's kind of, okay, like, what is that supposed to tell me? But it just told me, it hit me again yesterday. I heard it earlier this week, but I also thought about it yesterday when I was touring a college campus with one of you guys, or one of you guys that have been here. And we were talking about the notion of not ever expecting that to be a possibility because the person didn't think they could. They just didn't think they could for many reasons. Not smart enough, come from a bad background, nobody in their families ever went to college. All kinds of things, money, all the things that we think we talk ourselves out of why we belong in certain places or with certain opportunities or anything like that. We tell a story to fit the narrative in our head. And that's just our brains trying to make sense of what we tell ourselves inside. Problem is that we're not always right. And really our brain always tries to look for certain things and make sense of things the way we understand them to be, because that's comforting. If we get pushed out of that comfort zone, then we're uncomfortable and we are scared and we're threatened, and then our brain goes boom and we can't think right. And it's the same as being threatened with a physical attack. The same feeling, the same brain chemicals arise, and we're scared. And that showed through yesterday. That showed through with me when I was your age, and when people started to talk to me about coming to play football at their colleges, I didn't really even know what college was, and I definitely didn't know anything about what college would require of me. Frankly, I wasn't necessarily even thinking that. I thought my life was destined to be, trying to search for where to sleep that night, new clothes and food and all the things that I needed to just get by. So I didn't think I could. And at the time I was probably right, because if I had not put myself in a position where I had to be uncomfortable and give it a try, I would have been right, because I didn't think I could. So yeah, you're right. You probably can't. Yesterday became very real when I was at a college campus with one of you guys. Not you guys who are presently with us, but who have moved on since and have become an adult and are ready for that. College doesn't have to be your thing, though. Any opportunity in life, or any relationship that you're in that isn't healthy for you, or any circumstance that you either want to take advantage of or separate yourself from, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right about that. The only problem is the hardest person in the room to ever convince is going to be ourselves, because we've had to comfort ourselves over time, and that's just what humans do. We look for things and try to make sense of what comes at us. All the things and all the trauma that we've been through, our brain starts to form this this discussion in our heads, and you guys know that inner voice. I talk about it all the time. One of my cheesy sayings or quotes that I always cite is, don't let your worst enemy live between your own two ears. That's a quote that I saw at a hockey rink one time, and it just, whoa, like that's so true, because if we allow it to, it just becomes it just convinces us how to live our life, and we listen to it because we trust it, because it's us, and who knows us better than us? But that's not necessarily always what's best for us, right? What we think is not always necessarily best for us. I know that's a hard and bitter pill to swallow, because who's going to tell me what to do and who's going to tell me how to live my life? Nobody, right? Well, our brains will, and that's always the truth. And whether we think we can or we can't, we are right about that because we're the experts on us. So it's not perfect every day. I always tell you, I always include that notion because a lot of people I'm talking to lately are like, man, I don't know if I can, somebody said to me the other day, you have it so together, Mr. Ryan, and you just make it look easy. And I'm thinking to myself, it's not easy at all. Not easy at all. As a matter of fact, yesterday was a great example of how even in the same day, things can go just kind of roller coaster, but that's part of breaking the cycle, right? Is those things are going to pop up and we're going to deal with some of the challenges that we've been dealing with forever because it's part of our story. It's never going to go away. It's part of who you are and what makes you you. That's why you're so amazing, is because you've overcome many things and you're still working to overcome those things. But yesterday during the day, when I was at a college campus for a athletic recruitment visit with a young person, I thought about my own recruitment visits and how I was by myself and everybody else had at least one parent, if not both, and the feelings that came about. And I just started to, I started to get sad and depressed and like, God, man, that really sucked. But it only hung on for a minute because I realized, like, that's why I'm here. That's why I was there yesterday, is because I remember that feeling. I remember that feeling and how bad it hurt me in that moment. And that's why I was there yesterday, to make sure that the young person I was with doesn't have to feel that same feeling. So that, again, is, I talk to you guys all the time in these videos and individually about exactly that, right? That's the purpose of why you're going through what you're going through. And it's so hard to see right now where you're at because the only thing you're worried about is, if you're on probation, you're worried about getting off probation. If you're in detention, you're worried about getting out of detention. It's bigger. It's way, way bigger than that. Really, what you need to not worry about, but what you need to think about and concentrate on is, what am I learning from this? And how can I use it for my whole life? Because that's what you have now. You have an extra tool that you can use forever. And whether you think you can or you can't, you're right about that. So what are we going to do with those tools? We're going to sit and pity about them and have them just happen. It's going to suck for the rest of our life and we're just going to have to deal with it? Or are we going to take it, learn, know that we have it, and make sure that other people don't have to deal with it as a result? Because now we know how we help. We can be those people that we needed as well. So whether you think you can or you can't break the cycle, because we're cycle breakers, you're right. It's time to break the cycle. Let's do it, baby. That's who we are, cycle breakers.